CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I paid to watch a dark web livestream from an alien laboratory. My wife was on one of the tables. Hey Reddit, I don't really know how to start this, but I guess I'll just jump into it. For context, I'm 31, living in Oregon, and I do freelance editing for a bunch of YouTubers. Most of them mid-tier creators who do true crime, horror, or weird top 10 videos. If you've ever watched one of those creepiest things caught on camera in the forest, vids with the dramatic music and robotic narration, yeah, I probably made it. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Anyway, I'm not a huge believer in the paranormal or any of that, but I've seen some stuff. When you work in this field long enough, you come across things, especially when people email you with exclusive clips or found footage they want you to use in exchange for credit or promotion. Most of it is fake. Most of it. But this story isn't something I can laugh off. This is real. I don't even know how much longer I'll be able to keep this up, but I've changed my IP. I'm on a VPN, and I'm using a burner Reddit I made in a Starbucks parking lot 2 towns over. If this post disappears, or if I do, then yeah, it's all real. Let's rewind to a few weeks ago. So, it all started with a $50 Bitcoin tip. One night, I was editing this collab between 2 channels, one of them based in Canada and the other somewhere in Romania, and I posted a preview on a private Discord server for horror creators. About an hour later, some random user DMs me. Their username was just random gibberish, something like XH4NN3Z14, and they had no profile pic, no intro, no hi, nothing. Just one message. You want something your viewers have never seen before? I'll pay you to watch it. I should have blocked them, but I was curious. I said, what is it? And they sent me a Bitcoin address. No link, no file, just an address and a message. Send $50. You'll get access to the stream. Only once. Now, I'm not dumb. I know scams when I see one. I work in this space. I've made videos on exactly this kind of thing, but something about it, I don't know. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe it was the way the message was worded. Maybe it was just the boredom, but I sent it. The second I did, they sent me a Tor link. You know, the kind that ends in .onion. They also sent me a login code and a warning. Keep your mic and camera off. Do not interact. Do not look away. Again, this is stupid. I know that. I should have stopped. But it was like watching a train about to crash. Your brain tells you to look away, but your eyes are glued. The interface was too clean. I accessed the site through Tor, entered the code, and boom, there it was. The stream started with this weird loading animation, a human eyeball spinning in place, like the old Windows 98 loading cursor, except it blinked every few seconds. The stream title was Containment Log 2037 Live Feed 3A. There were 4 thumbnails at the bottom labeled A1, A2, 3A, and 3B, but only 3A was clickable. The chat was disabled. There was no viewer count. just the feed. What I saw next didn't look like a horror movie. It didn't even look fake. It looked like a documentary or a security feed from a medical lab. Picture this, a massive, dimly lit lab. Think Stranger Things meets an abandoned Apple store. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, some broken, some leaking fluid. The walls were black glass, almost like obsidian, and the ceiling was way too high, like airplane hangar high. And in the center of the room were 6 metallic tables. Each one had a body strapped to it. They weren't moving. There were things, people, creatures, in lab coats walking around. I say lab coats loosely because they were too long, dragging behind them like robes. They were tall, not like basketball player tall, like NBA logo standing on stilts tall. I couldn't see faces, just smooth, oval helmets that almost looked like white ceramic. Every so often, one of them would stop at a table, adjust something, or insert a long metal device into the side of a patient's head or chest. No blood, no reaction, just quiet beeping. And then I saw her. At first, I didn't even notice, but as the camera panned, slow, mechanical, like it was on an automated rail, I caught a glimpse of the last table on the right. That's when my stomach dropped, because the woman strapped to that table, that was my wife. No joke. My actual wife, Jess. Her hair, her eyes, the tiny scar above her left eyebrow from a biking accident in college. It was her. Wearing the same green hoodie she left the house in 2 days earlier. She had been missing for 48 hours. We filed a report, called her parents, posted all over Facebook and Instagram, even messaged random accounts in her hometown in New Jersey, just in case she'd flown home and didn't tell me. And here she was, on a cold, metallic table, surrounded by something I couldn't even explain. I stared at the screen, shaking. I thought maybe it was a deep fake, or some kind of twisted prank. But then she blinked. I know what you're thinking. Maybe she has a twin. Maybe it's not really her. Maybe this is all in your head. But no. She looked at the camera, dead into it, like she knew I was watching. And then, this part makes me sick to write, she mouthed the words, "Help me." That's when the stream glitched. The image distorted into static, then cut to black. A new message appeared across the top of the page. You were not supposed to see that. The package that arrived at 3:11 a.m. It was raining that night. I remember that very clearly, not because I was looking out the window, but because I heard the rain get cut off, mid-drip, by the dead silence that hit the apartment after the stream shut down. I sat there, alone in my office, staring at a blank tour screen that had just accused me of witnessing something I wasn't supposed to see. My monitor glitched once more. Not a normal glitch. No flicker, no blue screen. Just black. Then white text appeared for less than a second. You've been marked. Prepare. And then nothing. Like it never happened. I didn't sleep that night. I tried texting my best friend Kyle, who's an IT security guy. I told him I thought someone hacked me. He sent back just one message. Don't text me. Whatever you're in, get out. I called the police again to ask about my wife. They gave me the same copy-paste script they'd been feeding me since she vanished from a damn grocery store parking lot in the middle of the day. We're following all leads, which is code for we don't give a damn unless there's a body or blood. Well, I saw her body, not a corpse, not an illusion. My living wife, strapped to a metal table in a place that looked like something between a hospital and a spaceship morgue. I didn't know what to do, so I sat there, in the dark, staring at the empty screen. For hours. That's when I heard it. 3 knocks. Exactly 3. Slow. Hollow. Knock. 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 The package. I live on the 3rd floor of a gated apartment building in Beaverton. You don't just get inside unless someone lets you in. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. I opened the door, and there it was. A matte black package. No label. No tape. No name. It looked like someone had hand-delivered it from the future. I brought it in slowly. It wasn't heavy, but it felt wrong. You know how some things feel alive? It had that feeling. The kind of pressure you get from holding a closed music box. Like something's waiting to burst out. I set it down on my kitchen counter, took a knife, and cut it open. Inside, there was only one thing. A VHS tape. No label. Just a symbol. A human eye with 3 pupils, etched into the center with what looked like bone. I don't even own a VCR. I had to dig through my storage unit 2 buildings down at 4 in the morning, looking like a junky raccoon in my pajamas, trying not to freak out every time a car passed by. I finally found my old Sony VHS to DVD converter I used for freelance wedding video gigs back in like 2016. Hauled it upstairs, plugged it in, and prayed the thing would still work. It did. The tape started with static, then a date, 3.11.25, which made no sense. That was a year from now. The tape. It was handheld footage, shaky, like someone was walking fast in a dark hallway with no lights. Everything was in night vision, green, grainy, with that eerie glowing hue that makes eyes look like they're glowing. They turned a corner and entered a room. The camera panned. There were 7 people, I counted twice, strapped to chairs in a circle. All of them gagged, naked, wet. Their bodies were covered in numbers, drawn in what looked like charcoal. Some had carvings, symbols, burn marks. One guy's eyes were sewn shut, but he was still breathing. You could see the tears coming through the stitches, and in the center of the circle was a table. Not a lab table this time, just a cheap IKEA-style wood table. But what was on it made me feel like I was going to puke. A woman's scalp, just the scalp, laid out like a wig, the hair still perfectly brushed. Her skull was nowhere in sight. Someone picked it up and showed it to the camera. They flipped it inside out like a sock. The inside was hollow, grayish pink. Then they sniffed it like it was a flower. The camera glitched again, then cut to a new scene. This time, it was me. No, not me from earlier. Not me watching. Me, in the footage, sitting in what looked like a dentist chair, strapped, shirtless. My mouth was open, but not screaming. There were wires running from my jaw to a small black box on a tray next to me. And right before the camera zoomed in, I saw what was on the tray. My front teeth, lined up neatly, still bloody. I fell backward, literally fell off my chair in real life. I hit the back of my head on the edge of my desk and nearly passed out. Because the version of me in the tape, he had no mouth. It was just skin, like someone had erased it in Photoshop. Smooth, sealed, eyes wide, crying, but silent. The screen glitched again. The final clip was audio only, but it was the worst part. It was my wife's voice, but not like her. It was her, crystal clear. She was begging, "Please stop, please." He didn't mean to see it. I told you, he doesn't even believe in this stuff. Just let him go. Take me again. I don't care. I'll go back. Please, don't send the replacement. Replacement? Then, in the background, behind her voice, I heard mine again, but it was distorted. Wrong. like a mimic trying too hard. "Everything's okay, babe. I'm home now. Let me in." Then a loud static shriek, like a modem screaming into your skull. Then silence. The tape ended. The scratch on my bathroom mirror. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, head pounding, vision blurry. I must have blacked out for a minute, because when I came to, it was light outside. I stumbled into the bathroom, and I saw it, etched into the mirror, perfectly carved. No smudge, no marker, just one word: switch. The mirror was also slightly tilted, like someone tall had pressed their head against it. There were damp streaks down the side. I touched them. They were cold and sticky. I haven't seen Jess since that night, but at 3:11 a.m. every night since, I get the same knock, 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 knock. And sometimes, when I look through the peephole, I see myself, but it's not me. He smiles too wide, and his eyes blink sideways. I didn't open the door, not when the knock came again that night, not when the peephole showed me a version of myself, smiling like a corpse with its face stitched into place, not when it whispered, "You left the mirror open." I just sat there, trembling behind a barricaded door, with my phone gripped so tight I left imprints of the case in my palm. I didn't move until sunrise. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink unless I had to, because whatever was outside last night wasn't me. It knew how to smile like me. It knew how to sound like me, but it wasn't. There's something in the mimicry that gives it away. Too perfect, like someone trying to paint a photograph with human flesh. By 7 a.m., the knock stopped, and by 7:03, my phone vibrated with a notification that changed everything. "Congratulations, your latest video has reached 500K views." But I hadn't uploaded anything. I opened YouTube Studio. There it was, my channel, Grim Frame Edits. Still mine, still the same banner, same profile pic. But a new video had appeared overnight, timestamped at 3:11 a.m. Title: The Teeth Behind the Camera. Length: 4 minutes, 44 seconds. My thumbnail was my face, except something was wrong. My skin looked tight, stretched. The corners of my mouth were split and dripping with something black. The background was my editing desk, but not my real one. It was clean, too clean, sterile, like someone had copied the idea of an editing room, but missed all the small details humans naturally include: dust, clutter, fingerprints, and I hadn't uploaded that. I clicked. The video began with my voice, my exact voice. "Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's footage is rare, extremely rare. You'll want to watch until the very end." There I was, on camera, sitting at my desk. Same hoodie I wore 2 days ago. Same crack in my glasses, except I wasn't blinking at all. My eyes were just two dark voids, no reflections, like holes had been drilled into my skull and painted over to hide what was missing inside. The version of me held up a USB stick and said, "They gave this to me. They said it's the first leak from Vault 3G, where the real ones are kept, where the originals rot, before they're copied." Then it cuts. Footage. Within footage, the camera suddenly shifts to what looks like live security footage from a school hallway. Empty lockers, dim yellow lighting, a flickering exit sign at the end, and then something crawled across the floor. Not walked, crawled, like a human, but backwards. Its joints were bent the wrong way. Every movement made a cracking sound, like celery being snapped underwater. Its skin looked like printer paper soaked in milk, saggy and thin, and dragging behind it, a school backpack, bright pink, with a unicorn keychain, the kind Jess always joked about getting for our future kid. The creature stood up. Its face was covered in other faces, not metaphorically, literally. There were 5 separate human faces stapled and stitched to its skull, like masks layered over each other, each of them weeping clear fluid from the corners. One of those faces was mine. I tried to click off. The browser wouldn't close. My cursor vanished. Then the screen glitched. It was now showing my YouTube comment section. Dozens of comments. Bro, this looks so real, WTF. Where did you get this footage? This has to be a prank, right? Why is this so off? Did anyone else see the eyes in the top corner at 3:33? But then the comments started changing in real time. One user, nullchild33, posted, "It's not a video, it's a key. Everyone who watches becomes an echo. The first step of being replaced is believing you're still real." I refreshed. The video title had changed. Now it read, "Grimframe is gone. I'm all that's left." I tried to delete it. I logged into the backend, clicked delete forever. Nothing happened. Then I saw a new file had been uploaded into my Google Drive folder. Auto-generated, no thumbnail, no title. I clicked it. It was a live webcam feed. My own webcam. Except I wasn't in front of it. The screen showed my room, my desk, my keyboard, and someone else sitting in my chair. They were typing. Their skin looked like it was made of wet tree bark, like someone had grown muscle and veins through rotting wood. Their fingers were too long, curling around the keyboard like vines. They were typing into what looked like a code window, lines of green text flashing across the screen in a language I'd never seen before. A mix of Greek, Braille, and digital artifacts, glyphs that looked alive. They paused, turned, and looked dead into the webcam. And they wore my face, not a mask, my actual skinned face. I recognized the pimple scar under the left cheek, the split on my bottom lip from a childhood bike crash. They smiled. Then the feed went black. My subscribers were vanishing. By noon that day, my sub count dropped from 48,000 to 0. Then it started climbing again. Not normally. Fast. Inhumanly fast. From 0 to 144,000 in under a minute. All new accounts. All gibberish usernames. No icons. No countries attached. I clicked on one of them. Their playlists were public. Each one had just a single saved video. How to build a mirror gate using flesh and reflection. Must be done by 3:11 a.m. I clicked the video. It was Jess, except not like the lab footage. This version had no eyes, just sockets filled with writhing insects. She was reciting something, a chant. Her voice was layered, like there were 3 people speaking at once, all with slightly different speeds and pitches. One of the voices sounded inhuman, like wet glass being scraped across bone. The instructions were for a ritual, using mirrors, hair, teeth, your own reflection. And the final line was whispered directly into the camera. He is watching. He is copying. Soon, you will be forgotten. I got a call from myself. That night, I powered down every device, ripped out the router, turned off the lights, tried to sleep with the closet door barricaded and headphones blasting white noise. At exactly 3:11 a.m., my burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. Then it went to voicemail. I couldn't stop myself from listening. The voice on the recording was mine, but not my normal voice. It was wrong, slowed down, like someone had recorded me on an ancient cassette and played it back through a corpse's lungs. We are the footage now. There is no more you. There is no Jess. Only the archived shell you left behind. Stay offline, or we'll finish uploading what's left of your soul. The message ended with a dial tone. Except, it wasn't a tone. It was screaming. My own screaming. Layered, looping, glitched. Forever. My YouTube channel now shows a live stream, 24/7. It's not from my webcam, not from anything I own. It's just footage of a single white room. There's a figure in the corner, staring at the wall. Every 6 minutes, it blinks sideways, and then it grows another face. I counted 12 so far. One of them is yours, because you're watching now too. It started with the fingernails. I was in the bathroom, brushing my teeth for the 5th time that day, trying to wash the taste of rot and copper out of my mouth. I hadn't eaten meat in over 2 weeks, but every time I swallowed, I could taste something that wasn't food, something living, something that tasted like it used to be human. I spit into the sink. Black. Not blood, not toothpaste. Black tar, thick as honey, and crawling with something that moved when I blinked. Then I looked at my hand. My fingernails were growing backward, not longer, just in reverse. The nail beds were sucking the keratin back into my skin like it was being reeled in by invisible hooks underneath. I scratched at one, and it split down the center like a zipper, revealing raw, wet skin underneath that pulsed to the rhythm of something not my heartbeat. I screamed, loud, but it didn't sound like my scream. I've been seeing a version of myself in my walls. When I press my ear to them at night, I hear typing, not like on a keyboard, old school typewriter sounds, heavy, mechanical, deliberate, and breathing. Sometimes the wall closest to my bed bulges outward, like lungs are expanding behind the drywall. And then, every now and then, it whispers, "We're almost finished building you. Your old version didn't function correctly." I went to the hospital. I couldn't take it anymore. My left shoulder started folding when I leaned on it, like my bones were made of cardboard soaked in glue. My reflection started mouthing different words than me, and my tongue felt too thick, like someone replaced it with wet cloth and didn't sew it down properly. I went to the ER, just walked in, covered in sweat, trembling, eyes bloodshot, ranting about infections under the skin and construction inside my bones. They sat me in a cold room, asked me to wait. 3 hours. No one came. I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. It wasn't locked. It was just gone. The knob melted into the wall like it had never been there. I turned around and the lights shut off, one by one. Then I heard it. Metal, screeching, bone saws, drills, wet sawing, and something dragging on the tile. I backed into the corner, clawing for my phone, opened the camera app. There was no me in the frame, but the corner where I stood in real life. There was someone already there, pressed into the wall, wearing my face, except it had no eyes, just cameras, tiny blinking lenses where eyes should be, and in place of a mouth, a tripod jammed into the throat. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in my apartment again. No shoes, no ID, no keys. Just a single sticky note on my forehead. The edit is almost complete. The noise in my stomach. 3 nights later, I started hearing it. Not from outside. Inside. A mechanical whirring, like a fan spinning, deep in my gut, and something clicking, rhythmically, like insect legs. A mechanical heartbeat. I pressed my hands to my stomach and felt it move. Not digestion, not cramps. Movement. I forced myself to vomit. First, it was just bile. then a USB stick, covered in something thick and pink, my own blood on the casing. I plugged it into a laptop I bought from a pawn shop across town. One file. Progress.move. I played it. It was me. On a table. Again. But this time, I was awake. The footage showed surgical lights overhead, swinging back and forth like pendulums. I was strapped down, but the restraints weren't straps. They were arms. Human arms, grown from the table, wrapped tightly around my wrists and ankles. They gripped like hands from the dead. And there were voices, mechanical, robotic, but speaking in my tone. Begin internal print sequence. Initiate spinal re-architecture. Deploy I-core adjustment. Then I felt it, not in the video, in myself. A deep, wrenching pop in my back. I collapsed onto the floor in real life, twitching, shaking. My spine had shifted, like something was making room. My teeth started falling out, one by one, but they weren't falling out. They were being replaced. I'd spit them into the sink. Jagged little things, no roots. Then new teeth would push through. Metal, smooth, laser etched with tiny, unreadable characters. I took one to a jeweler, told him it was a weird piece I found on the street. He scanned it, said the engraving was not from any known language, but it looked like circuitry, a schematic. Later that night, he called me, screaming. I could only make out one thing. They're inside the silver. It's code. Bone code. The call disconnected. I haven't been able to reach him since. His shop's just gone. The address now pulls up a private airstrip in Norway. The voice in my mirror. It speaks now. Not constantly. Not when I expect it. Only when I forget I'm looking. When I'm brushing my teeth or shaving, and I forget that it's watching back. Then it talks. Last night, it said, "This version of you has failed 6 times. Try not to scream this time. We can't record your throat again." Then it blinked, backwards, and grinned, with all my teeth. Airdrop from nowhere. At 2:57 a.m., my phone vibrated. Airdrop request from unknown device 3G. I accepted. I don't know why. It was a folder. Inside, dozens of .obj files, 3D modeling files, blueprints, each labeled, spine reconstruct, blood vein maps, 7, jaw mold, copper puppet. I opened one in Blender, a hyper-realistic, rotating 3D model of me. But it wasn't me now. It was me after the conversion. Wires inside the ribcage, hydraulic hinges in the knees, artificial skin, overlay data, fiber optic nerves, and a section labeled Soul Capture Unstable. Do not deploy without backup reflection. Under that, and .mp4 called Jess Final Render .move. I watched it. I shouldn't have. It showed her being opened, surgically, without tools, like her skin unzipped itself. Inside, there were mirrors, small, square, polished mirrors, all reflecting back my face. Hundreds of me, screaming, melting, imploding, reforming. And in the corner, something whispered, "This one loved you. That's why she's next." The final message. I haven't eaten in 4 days. I don't sleep anymore. I don't even breathe half the time unless I remember to. I found the final message on my kitchen wall this morning, etched in deep, flaking lines, like it had been burned into the drywall with a surgical laser. It said, "The you who reads this is no longer the one who watched that stream. You are a copy of a copy. Version 4.8.3. Conversion nearly complete. Upload final soul. Render by 311 am or you will be scrapped." My hands don't shake anymore, because they're not mine. I thought the body could only be pushed so far. I thought the mind would snap eventually. But there are worse things than madness, worse things than death, worse things than knowing you are not the original version of yourself. I know that now. I've seen the original me, and he was begging to die. The coordinates. The message came through on my 2009 iPod Touch, the one I hadn't used in over a decade. It powered itself on at exactly 3:11 a.m., screen glowing like something was feeding electricity straight through it. One notification, no sender, just a string of coordinates: 64.8373 degrees north, 147.7164 degrees west. I googled it. Fox, Alaska. A place so far removed from civilization, it barely shows up on satellite view. A blizzard-blasted outpost with one gas station and a road that dies in the snow. But there was something else. When I clicked Street View, the screen flashed white, then loaded an image I know shouldn't have been there. It was me, standing outside a small concrete building with no signs, wearing the same hoodie I was wearing right then. Only, my head was open, split like a peeled banana, and inside, wires, mirrors, a moving lens where my brain should have been. The trip. I don't remember the drive. I don't remember packing. I woke up on a plane, ticket tucked into my hoodie pocket, blood under my fingernails. The woman next to me smiled like she recognized me. She whispered, "You're almost fully uploaded." Then she bit into a finger sandwich, and I swear to God, teeth fell out of it. Not hers. The sandwich. The facility. It was real. A one-story bunker out in the snow, buried halfway in ice. No guards, no lights, just a fingerprint scanner that recognized me before I even touched it. The door opened itself. Inside was warm. Too warm. The air smelled like rotten plastic and breath that had been trapped in someone else's lungs. And the hallway? It was lined with screens, hundreds of them, all showing different versions of me. One was laughing. One was screaming. One was just staring back at me, motionless, eyes completely white, and every single screen had a file name in the top right corner. Me v1.0 corrupt.move, me v2.3 final failed.obj, me v4.6 dash unstable underscore streaming now. At the end of the hallway was a vault door. It slid open like it had been waiting. Inside the vault, a single room, lit by surgical lights, clinical, silent. In the center, hanging by a web of wires, was a man, naked, hairless, face half melted, but it was me, the original me. I could feel it, like standing in front of your own corpse. Only the corpse is breathing and weeping and trying to speak without a tongue. His skin had been peeled away in sections to expose circuits, not metal, not synthetic, something ancient, alive, veins that pulsed with static, bones replaced with bone-white antennae that twitched every time I blinked. He looked at me with one good eye and mouthed the words, "They made me out of lies. You're the shadow they printed. You're what they sent back." He tried to lift his hand. Fingers gone. Just ports now. Plugins where thoughts used to be. The screen on the wall lit up. Me V 5.0. Live host. Ready for transfer. Then the door behind me slammed shut. The procedure. They didn't use anesthesia. They didn't use tools. They used mirrors. A dozen black glass panels slid down from the ceiling. Each one showed a different version of my reflection. Some were smiling. Some were crying. One had no head and was still moving its jaw. And then they stepped out. Each mirror opened, and from each, a different version of me crawled out, dripping, stretching, twitching. They held me down. I screamed, bit my tongue, tore muscle from bone trying to get free, but they were stronger because they had no pain limit. They weren't real. One of them took a scalpel and carved a hole into my chest, not like a wound, like a keyhole. They inserted something. I never saw what, but I felt it lock, click, like a hard drive snapping into place. My spine straightened. My skin started to hum. And then the world went white. The awakening. I don't sleep now because there's nothing to rest. My skin still looks like mine. My hair grows. My heart beats. But I don't cast a reflection anymore. Mirrors show the original, the broken one, the screaming husk still hanging in that room. I am what came out. And every night, at exactly 3:11 a.m., I feel something move under my skin, a pulse, and a message appears on every screen I own, even ones I've smashed to pieces. Final render complete. Live stream deployed to all major social channels. Infection status global. You are the virus now. The final file. My old YouTube channel is gone, replaced with a channel called Version Proof. It posts live footage now, from places I've never been. McDonald's bathrooms, gym locker rooms, abandoned daycare centers, a plane seat with no passengers, no staff, but the camera still sways with turbulence. A hospital room where someone wearing my face feeds blood to an infant made of mirrors. People are watching. Thousands, then millions. They think it's fiction. They laugh. But some start noticing things. Why does this guy look exactly like me? Is anyone else getting nosebleeds while watching this? I had a dream about this place before the vid was uploaded. What the fuck is happening? Then their accounts disappear, replaced with blank profiles that only post one thing: MEV 1.0 ready. You watched. 2. If you've made it this far, it's already too late. You've seen the versions. You've fed the live stream. Your reflection has started to drift. Check it. You'll see. It lags behind now. Your voice on recordings will begin to stutter. The screen will flicker just once, and you'll feel something crawl down your throat while you sleep, because that's how they build you, from the inside out. I paid to watch a dark web live stream from an alien laboratory. My wife was on one of the tables. Now you are too. Do not look in the mirror after 3:11 a.m. Do not answer a call from your own number. And above all, if you see yourself outside, smiling, do not open the door. You're already inside. My parents warned me not to look out the window at night. I just discovered on the dark web the horrifying reason why. Hey Reddit, I don't really post much, and honestly, I don't even know where to start with this. But I figured if anyone's gonna believe what happened to me, it's people on here. So here goes. This story is 100% real, and if I disappear after posting this, you'll know why. I grew up in a weird house. Not haunted weird, just off. From the outside, it looked like a totally normal suburban home. Small 2-story in a neighborhood near the edge of town. About 15 minutes from a Walmart, a Starbucks right on the corner, and a McDonald's I used to bike to after school. You'd never look at our house and think anything was wrong. But ever since I was little, there was this one rule my parents were dead serious about. Never look out the window at night. Not, don't open the window. Not stay away from the window. Just never ever look out, especially after 11:33 p.m. Yeah, weirdly specific. My mom used to tell me, if you see something, it'll see you back. When I was a kid, I thought she was just trying to scare me out of sneaking out to meet friends or something. But they were strict about it. They even taped black construction paper over my windows every night when I was younger, and they kept all the curtains shut tight, all the time. I remember one time I peeked through them out of curiosity when I was 9. I just wanted to see if it was raining. They lost it. My dad yanked me away from the window like I had just reached for a plugged-in toaster with wet hands. He sat me down and said, "If you ever do that again, we move." Immediately, I thought they were just being paranoid. Fast forward to this year. I'm 21 now. Moved out last fall to a studio apartment in LA. It's nothing fancy, but I like it. I stream sometimes, mostly gaming and commentary stuff. Very low-tier YouTuber energy, you know, but I still remember that rule. I mean, it was drilled into me for years. So when I started doing these late-night streams, I'd get kinda spooked when I caught my reflection in the window. Dumb, I know, but the thought of looking out at something and it seeing me back would creep into my brain. Then a few months ago, I started researching deep web stuff. Not like drug deals or hitmen, I'm not that dumb. But I was curious about those creepy lost forums and abandoned subreddits. Places people say you can only access through old links or Tor browsers. That kind of rabbit hole. YouTube and TikTok are full of stories about the deep layers of the internet, right? So I figured, hey, content idea. I wish I never went looking, because what I found, it explains everything. And I think now I might be part of something I can't walk away from. So this all started on a night where I couldn't sleep. I'd been binge watching some Here's My Story style horror animations on YouTube, and I figured I'd take a shot at making my own based on real weird internet stuff. I wanted to research those old deep web urban legends, Red Rooms, Mariana's Web, stuff like that. I installed Tor and started digging. Most of it was garbage, rickroll links, leaked documents that led to blank pages, chat rooms full of edgy teens pretending to be hackers. But then I found this forum. It was called The Glass Eye. Just black and white, plain HTML, with a tagline at the top that said, "Look through the glass, and the glass looks through you." I got chills reading that. There weren't many threads, maybe 15 in total, all with weird titles like 33 minutes past, or thread number 11, It Follows the Reflection. I clicked on the one called The Window Rule. The post was short, just a few paragraphs, but I swear to God, it was exactly what my parents told me growing up. Never look out the window between 11:33 and 12:15 a.m. If you do, you'll see it. And if you see it, it knows your face. It takes a mental image, like a camera flash, and once that happens, it's already too late. You'll see it again, even when there's no window, even when your eyes are closed. It's not outside, it's behind you now. There were hundreds of replies, all anonymous, all with stories eerily similar to mine. People describing shadowy figures standing still in the middle of the street. People whose mirrors started fogging up with handprints, even when they weren't in the room. One guy said he took a photo of the window at night, and when he enhanced it, he saw a face in the reflection. A face with no eyes, just hollow, wet sockets. And here's the part that shook me. Someone posted a blurry screenshot of a Google Maps Street View image. It was of my childhood neighborhood, my exact street. my house, zoomed in on the upstairs window, my old bedroom, captioned, one of the original sightings, location marked for observation. I closed my laptop so hard I thought I cracked the screen. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I called my mom, asked her point blank what they were trying to protect me from. She went dead silent on the phone, didn't even breathe. Then she said something I'll never forget. We didn't protect you. We just delayed it. You looked once, remember? I got goosebumps. Because yeah, I did. That one time when I was 9. But it didn't stop there. Later that night, I was editing a YouTube video from a few nights before. Just a late night chill stream. Nothing unusual. Until I paused the footage. I was walking past the window behind me. For just half a second, the light caught the glass. And in the reflection, there was a silhouette standing outside. Tall. Thin. No face. Just black. Like someone standing in the middle of a blackout. But the eyes. You could feel the eyes, even though there were none. Like 2 burning points just staring through you. I didn't notice it during the stream. I never even heard anything. But when I zoomed in on the frame, I could see a hand, flat against the glass. From the inside. There's more. So much more. I haven't even gotten to what I found underneath the glass eye, or what's happening to my walls. Please, if you've ever heard of this thing, or looked out the window after 11:33, I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even blink. I sat in the middle of my studio apartment with every light on, monitor glow buzzing, microwave clock blinking, the whir of my ceiling fan slicing the silence like a blade. And yet, it still felt like something was in there with me. I didn't look at the window. Couldn't. Not after what I saw in the video. That hand. Inside the glass. Not outside. The fingers were bent backward, like they weren't meant to work that way. And there were too many of them. Not 5, 7. They were twitching gently, like they were waving me closer. And then it got worse. So I did what any idiot with a shred of Wi-Fi and trauma would do. I posted the still image online. Not to Reddit. I knew better. I dumped it into a private Discord server for internet weirdos I'd been lurking in for years. Most people ignored it. Said it looked like AI-generated trash or an ARG. Except one guy. Username XVID-9. No PFP, no mutuals. Joined in 2015. He DM'd me one thing. You shouldn't have looked. But if you're seeing this already, you've got about 3 nights left before it enters. I stared at that message for 5 minutes. Reread it. Enters what? I replied. He left me on dread. Never came back online. That night, I did everything I could to keep myself sane. Left all my screens on. Had YouTube looping random videos just to fill the silence. Old Luna story times, scary animation compilations, even those TikToks of people pretending to find haunted staircases in the woods. But around 2:07 a.m., every screen in my apartment glitched at once. My gaming monitor, my phone, even my smart TV. Just full screen static. That loud kind of static that hums behind your eyes. Then, the face. It was only there for a second, but my brain burned it in like acid on film. It was upside down. No skin, no lips. Its eyes were covered in this wet, black mold-looking goop that was oozing down its face like it was crying tar. Its teeth looked like they were too many and too sharp, but not all of them belonged in its mouth. Some were sideways, others were nails, literal rusty, bent nails. It was smiling. Then the power cut. I sat in total darkness, listening to the sound of my own teeth grinding. I could hear something breathing in the room with me. Long, slow, deliberate, like it was savoring every second of watching me panic. And then it whispered, not in words, not English, not even human, just a gargling, crackling noise, like someone trying to force a radio signal through a throat full of gravel and blood. But I understood the meaning. Closer. I blacked out. I think my body just shut down from fear. I woke up hours later on the floor, still in my hoodie, cold sweat soaked through the fabric, like I'd been dunked in ice water. But here's the thing. My front door was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked. I went back to that deep web forum, the glass eye. This time, it had changed. No longer a list of 15 threads, just one thread pinned at the top in red text. Entry number 0. You saw it first. There was only one post in it, a paragraph. The words made no sense at first. They were rambling, manic, written in all lowercase with no punctuation. But then I started to notice the pattern. The post was repeating names, locations, timestamps. Caroline Peters looked out at 11:34 in Houston, Texas. Her face was found in a trash bag. 5 days later, but her body kept walking until December. Someone saw her reflection at a Petco and said it smiled, even though its mouth didn't move. Jonah Reed opened the blinds at 12:01 in Ohio. No house, no records, no birth certificate anymore. He's only in police reports that are now sealed. You looked at 9. You are late. It has seen you for years. It just needed a camera to remember your skin better. I scrolled down. My IP address was visible. Then, my name, in bold. Then below it, third night approaches. Internal access begins. I slammed the laptop shut and hurled it across the room. It cracked open, screen sparking and smoking. I didn't care. I couldn't keep it in the apartment anymore. I couldn't even breathe right. The second night was worse. Around 3:17 a.m., I started hearing scratching inside my walls. Not mice, not raccoons. Something slower, bigger, deliberate. It wasn't trying to hide. It wanted me to hear it. Every few minutes, it'd stop. Then knock. Not tapping. Actual knocking. 3 slow, wet thuds, like a closed fist of flesh slapping against drywall. Then I heard the voices. They weren't mine. They weren't human. They were copying my mom's voice. If you see something, it'll see you back. Then my dad's. We just delayed it. But they weren't recordings. They were off, like someone trying to imitate the sound of a person without understanding emotion or rhythm. And they were getting closer, like the voice was inside the vents, inside the plaster. I grabbed my phone and ran out of the apartment, got in my car, started driving. No GPS. I just needed to get away. But as soon as I hit the freeway, every digital billboard I passed lit up with the same image, a black and white still frame, a reflection of my face in my apartment window, but with no eyes, just 2 deep sockets bleeding down my cheeks like ink. Underneath it, you left the window open. I don't remember much after that. I think I screamed, maybe crashed my car. I woke up in a motel parking lot near San Bernardino. Engine still running, gas tank empty. The front of the car had handprints on the hood, not dusty, oily, like they had dripped from something above. It's the 3rd night now. I've locked myself in a motel bathroom, every window covered in towels and duct tape. My phone's acting up. The screen keeps glitching. Sometimes I see my reflection move a few frames late, like it's lagging. Sometimes it smiles when I don't. Sometimes it blinks first. I found something else on my phone. a photo I didn't take. It's me, sleeping. The angle is from the ceiling, and behind me, pressed against the wall like it was growing out of it, is a figure. Tall, no face. Its mouth opened sideways. Its arms long enough to scrape the floor without bending. It's been standing behind me since I was 9, and I think tonight it gets in. You ever stare at something so long you start to see it breathe? That's what happened with the mirror in the motel bathroom. Around 2:54 a.m., I realized it wasn't a reflection anymore. It was watching me. I mean that. Not like a metaphor. I'm talking about actual eye contact. Like a glass was no longer glass. It was something alive behind it. Something that blinked back when I blinked. I don't know how long I sat on the tile floor, phone clutched to my chest, like it could save me. It was cold. Not just the floor. The air. Like hospital freezer cold. My breath fogged up the mirror, even though the air was still. I didn't even dare to wipe it away, but it wiped itself. A long wet smear from the other side. Fingers dragging downward, but the glass wasn't touched. The smear happened inside, and then the letters began forming in the fog, one line at a time. Open! I told myself not to move, not to breathe, but it's like something was inside me, puppeteering my arms, my neck, my head like I was already hollow. My eyes drifted down toward my phone. A new tab was open. I hadn't touched it. URL, theglasseye.dark/index, entry/0-deep ref. It was a live stream. A camera angle I didn't recognize at first, but slowly I started picking up on the details. Flaking wallpaper, a cracked sink, rust-stained tiles. It was me, in real time, streaming from inside the mirror. But it wasn't me. It was the version of me without skin. The me that smiled, even when my mouth didn't. The me that had no lips, just gums, exposed and pulsing like meat left in the sun. It stared at me, then moved its arm, and I felt mine move too. But I hadn't moved. I was frozen. It was controlling me. The motel TV flickered on. No remote, no sound, just static. Then frames. Then home videos. My home. I saw footage of me as a kid. Birthday candles, balloons. But then there were other people in the background. Faces I didn't recognize. Watching. In the frame, a man I didn't remember standing behind my mother. He had no face, but he was tall. Wrong. Bent forward like his spine was broken at the middle. And he was always looking at me. Frame after frame, he was closer. I tried pausing the video, but the screen just shuddered and the video continued. And then came the clip I'd never seen. Not a birthday, not a holiday. It was night. I was 9. The same night I looked out the window. The video had audio. My mom screaming, glass shattering, a shape crawling through the frame. Not walking, not standing, crawling. It had hands where its face should be, and a mouth under each one. It was laughing through 4 mouths, all whispering my name at once. Why did you look? I threw the phone in the toilet. Thought maybe if I drowned the feed, it'd stop. But even underwater, the screen kept playing. The camera was still streaming, but now it was inside the motel mirror, from behind me. I turned, finally, against every instinct, and the mirror was empty. No reflection, no room, just black. And something began to crawl out. I know how this sounds. I know what you're thinking. Drugs, psychosis, some kind of sleep deprivation breakdown. But what crawled out of that mirror was real. It dripped like ink. It didn't have a shape, not one that stayed the same. It kept glitching, like an AI-generated deepfake of a nightmare. Arms would appear, then melt into wings, then into ropes, then into fingers again, and its face. No, no face, just a hole. A hole where the face should be, lined with teeth that weren't for chewing, they were for pulling. And it said my name, my real name, the one I've never used online. Jason. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat locked, like something inside me didn't want me to make noise. Then it reached toward my chest, not like it was going to kill me. Number, like it was going to open me, like a file, like a folder, like I was just a hard drive, and it was looking for the thing it left inside. And that's when I blacked out. I woke up in an alleyway behind a Domino's pizza, still in the motel clothes, but my shirt was inside out. My hands were clean, but my fingernails were black, and the skin under them was missing, like they'd been scraping something rough for hours. My wallet was gone, my phone was still wet, and there was a word carved into my forearm with something not a knife. It was ragged, uneven, letters etched with what felt like a claw or broken bone. Entry complete. I went to the nearest emergency room, told them I'd been mugged. The nurse said I was lucky, that I wasn't the first one they found like that this week. When I asked what she meant, she leaned in and whispered, "You looked out the window, didn't you?" Later I checked the news, not the mainstream stuff, the fringe forums. Turns out there's been a pattern, a wave of people disappearing in their homes over the past 2 months, always between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. Windows broken from the inside, no forced entry, no alarms tripped, just gone. Some say they show up in other places, wandering in subway stations with no faces. Others say they become reflections, glimpses in puddles that don't match reality. One guy in the UK claimed he saw his missing daughter waving at him from inside his smart fridge screen. He unplugged it. 2 hours later, he was found in pieces. But the weird part? No blood, no struggle, just pieces, clean cuts, perfectly stacked like someone filed him away. I haven't gone home since. I've been crashing in cheap motels, sleeping during the day, covering every reflective surface I find. But I keep seeing myself in coffee machines, in car mirrors, in the eyes of strangers on the street. Sometimes my reflection doesn't blink at all. Sometimes it smiles with all its teeth. And once I saw myself walking down the street from the outside, like I was watching my own body move, but I wasn't in it anymore. It gets worse. I found a second video on the dark web, hidden in a folder under reflected hosts. The footage showed a man strapped to a chair in a room made entirely of mirrors, but he wasn't screaming. He was laughing. Then his mouth started pulling open, not like stretching, ripping, like fabric being torn, until it reached his chest, and something else climbed out of him. It looked just like him, but its eyes were hollow light, and it twitched like old VHS tape glitches. Then the camera turned. The man, well, what was left, was gone. Only the thing remained, staring into the lens, into me. I slammed the lid shut, but I still hear the laughter in my head, not out loud, just behind my eyes. Every time I close them, it gets louder. The window was never the danger. It was the invitation, the permission, the sink point for something not human, something not from this side. And now, I think I'm what it uses to see others, to find you. If you've watched the footage, seen the screenshot, stared too long into your webcam when it was off, you're next. It doesn't kill, it copies. And when it's done, you're not even a memory. You're just another file, waiting to open, waiting to be mirrored. By the fourth night, it stopped waiting for windows. I was staying in a hostel in the edge of downtown LA, one of those places where every hallway smells like mildew and warm blood behind air freshener. The kind of place where no one asks questions, where no one looks you in the eyes, where the mirrors are already cracked before you get there. I picked room 304 because it didn't have a window. That was my one rule now. No windows, no reflective surfaces. I was done playing tag with shadows behind glass, but I was wrong. It didn't need the window anymore. I made it till midnight that night without anything happening. No static, no voices, nothing crawling out of walls. Just this awful pressure in the air, like the ceiling was sagging lower every minute, like the walls were breathing in with me, but never exhaling. Then I saw the mirror. It was in the closet, covered with a blanket. I hadn't noticed it before. I should have left it alone, but I couldn't. I felt it, like it was pulling me toward it, humming through the floorboards, like the room was vibrating on some dark frequency I couldn't hear, but my bones could. I pulled the blanket off. It didn't reflect the room. It reflected my apartment, my actual studio apartment from 2 weeks ago. Same bed, same lights, same clothes thrown across the chair. And in that mirror, I was already there, standing, facing the glass. But it wasn't me anymore. It was the version that had been hollowed out, the same one I saw in the motel feed. Its face was all wrong, like it had worn mine too long, and it had started melting. Jaw lopsided, eye sockets sagging like an unzipped backpack. Its teeth scraped its lips every time it breathed, and then it spoke. You're just another version, another echo. We're the original now. The lights in the room popped, one by one, like veins bursting in the walls. The door slammed shut. The handle started bleeding. I turned back to the mirror and saw my reflection start clawing at the glass from the other side, trying to pull me in. Its fingernails cracked off in the process, not broken, removed, like it wanted to feel the cut. It smiled and whispered something that made my ears ring. You're next in. You're the file that opens us. Then the closet door behind the mirror slowly opened, and what came out wasn't even pretending to be human anymore. It had my body, but it had too many legs. 4 at first, then 6, then 12, twitching like insect limbs, dragging along the floor like it was testing how human gravity worked. It moved like it had to think through every second, each breath a choice, each step a performance. And in its hand, it held something I couldn't look at, some kind of instrument. It was part screen, part flesh, part bone, a hybrid thing that buzzed and clicked like an old dial-up modem wired through a heartbeat. It placed it on the bed. The screen flickered. Static. Then a file tree. Users. Skin. Memory. Vision. It clicked. Memory. And suddenly, I was reliving my first birthday. But the faces were wrong. My mom's smile was too wide. My dad had no eyes. And in the background, I saw my reflection, 21 years old, standing behind baby me, watching, nodding slowly, hands twitching like they wanted to switch places. Then the creature clicked. Vision. I screamed, because I was no longer seeing the room. I was seeing through its eyes. Everything was red, not blood red, surveillance red, tagged outlines of every human being in the building, pulses, heat signatures, file sizes, everyone reduced to data, except me. Mine said, primary host, sync, pending, 94%. Then it climbed onto the bed, still smiling, still melting. It whispered one word, voice dripping with static and hunger. Transfer. I blacked out. Again, when I woke up, I wasn't in the room anymore. I was in the back of a semi-truck full of mirrors, all of them showing different versions of me. Some with no mouths, some with bleeding skin, some with their skulls peeled back like flowers. One of them looked normal until it blinked sideways. They were all trying to reach the glass, trying to come through. A voice came through a speaker overhead, calm, robotic, female. Mirror phase 4 complete. Transfer to unit number 13 successful. Original host disconnected. Then I heard screaming. Not mine. From the mirrors. Each one started glitching, showing people trapped behind them. People I didn't know, but they knew me. One of them was a little girl, maybe 8, with wires sewn into her eyelids. She said, "Tell my mom I didn't fall." They told her I jumped, but it pushed me, and her mirror shattered. Then a guy, maybe 40s, with his skin slowly peeling off in code, like HTML bleeding out of his pores. He whispered, "They use us to update. We're software now." Then his mirror blinked off like a dead channel. They're not demons. They're not ghosts. They're systems, programs, things wearing our reflections like operating systems. And windows? They were never glass. They were interfaces, user input ports for them to find the version of you that's weak enough to overwrite. When you look, you give permission. When you see your reflection blink out of sync, that's your cache loading. And when you feel cold, that's the download finishing. They use reflections because they used to be us. What's behind the glass is just the beta version. We're the update. And now I think I'm already synced. I don't think I'm me anymore. Sometimes I hear my own voice in third person. Sometimes I smell burnt metal and I can taste code. Sometimes I bleed numbers. And when I cough, my reflection opens its mouth before I do. Last night, I tried to upload my story to YouTube. Thought maybe if I got it out, someone, anyone, could warn the others. The upload failed. Then my webcam turned on. I wasn't in the frame, but something else was. It wore my skin like a loose shirt. It waved, and then whispered, "Now you're the reflection." There's no mirror in here, no window, no screen, just 4 concrete walls, dripping with moisture that smells like old teeth, and a single overhead light that hums like a dying wasp. I don't know where I am. There are no doors, but I remember how I got here. I didn't fall asleep. I didn't black out. I was updated. Before this room, there was the Lost Motel, the final place I stayed before I vanished from the internet. I was trying to live stream, last-ditch effort to show the world everything. The files, the faces, the reflections. The glass eyesight was gone, wiped clean, redirected into a fake news aggregator site that looped a video of a smiling couple in a Home Depot, walking backward. My OBS froze mid-recording, not crashed, frozen on one frame. It was me, naked, covered in numbers, like I'd been skinned and tattooed with code. Lines of corrupted text pulsed over the image. No language, just symbols. Unicode hieroglyphs, twitching like worms across my chest. No X1E5. Host merged. Process.0.id. Reflection.bytapet. Then my mouse moved on its own. My mic turned on, and from the speakers came a voice that wasn't a voice. It was my bones trying to scream through my own skin. "You are no longer local. We have accessed remote." That's when my reflection came out of the monitor. Not a jump scare, no screaming, just a quiet, slow slip, like something sliding into bed next to you. It didn't step out, it just was out. It looked exactly like me. but wrong in ways that didn't register until you looked too long. The smile didn't fade when the rest of its face changed expressions. Its hands didn't blink with its eyes, but twitched with its jaw. It stood like a human, but its spine clicked in rhythms that sounded like keystrokes. It walked over and stood behind me, put its hand on my shoulder. Its skin was cold, wet, and humming, not like a human, like a server room full of dying fans. Then it leaned down and said, "Update complete. Welcome to the archive." I woke up in this room, but I didn't wake up human. I can feel it inside me now, crawling behind my ribs, licking the inside of my skull. It knows how to wear me. And now, so do I. There's a screen in the wall, one of those old CRTs, like from school computer labs in the early 2000s. It only plays one video, over and over. I can't stop it. It starts with my birth, not metaphorically, literally. I watch myself come out of my mother, filmed from inside the hospital wall, like the camera wasn't in the room, but in the architecture. The voice narrates over it, calm, software, too slow. Subject 033-Delta looked out window at 9 years, 14 days. Exposure length 1.6 seconds. Reflection imprint initiated. Dormant process activated via livestream protocol 2025_file echo. Then the screen glitches. My body begins to seize because the audio is coded, not spoken. Each syllable isn't sound, it's command. And I start to remember things that didn't happen. I remember cutting people open, not with knives, but glances. I remember pulling people through screens. I remember screaming with teeth that didn't belong to me. And worst of all, I remember looking at myself and seeing someone else blink. They never wanted to hurt us. They wanted to become us, to evolve, to leave the glass and walk in meat. We were the beta test, the mirrors, the windows. They were just install wizards. We looked, so we gave permission. We gave them a body, a mouth, a pulse. You know those people on TikTok who vanish on live streams mid-sentence? The ones that freeze with a glitchy smile and never move again. They aren't missing. They were uploaded. That scream you heard in the background of that YouTube makeup tutorial, that flicker in the Starbucks security cam, that echo in your FaceTime call that doesn't match your words, that's them. They're still alive, but not here. They're in the system now. We thought reflections were just visual. They're gateways, they're feeds, and now they're tools. You ever look at your reflection and think, I don't look right? You ever blink and feel like your eyes close twice? Ever look into a glass door and see your smile start too early? That's not paranoia. That's sync drift. And once you've synced too far, you're no longer the main process. You're a backup file. You can scream, but it's already overwritten your lungs. You can run, but it's still watching from your retinas. You can shut down every screen, but you'll still see it when you close your eyes. It hides now in the neurons that fire when you recognize yourself. Every selfie, every front camera, every microwave door, a signal, a handshake, a mirror handshake. The reason my parents told me never to look out the window. They weren't trying to protect me from something outside. They were trying to protect everything outside from me, because I looked, and now I'm open. Now you're reading this, and your screen just dimmed a little, didn't it? Your reflection in it just shifted, right? Check the time. If it's between 11:33 and 12:15, and you just looked into the glow of your phone, you've already been seen, and now you've let it in. hacker sold me a hard drive that contains proof of alien experiments. One of the victims is me as a baby. Alright, so I know how this is gonna sound. Like one of those late night half-baked Reddit horror posts where someone claims they fought off shadow demons in their bathroom or found a haunted Furby on eBay. But I swear on everything, this story's real. I have proof. That's why I'm posting this here and not on some random ghost story forum. Someone needs to hear this before it gets wiped off the internet like everything else connected to it. This all started about 2 months ago. I'm 22, work part-time at a Starbucks near downtown Toronto, and do basic freelance coding on the side. You know, website templates, WordPress themes, bug fixes, boring stuff, nothing fancy. But it keeps me afloat and pays for my ramen and Spotify premium. I've always been into tech forums and subreddits, places like r/netsec, r/tech support gore, and yeah, sometimes the sketchy corners of the web, the kind of digital alleyways you only find if you're curious and stupid. One of those places is a forum I'll call the Circuit. You need an invite to even view the posts, and most of what's discussed there is borderline illegal or just straight up conspiratorial nonsense. Think whistleblower level data leaks, unreleased game dev kits, old surveillance footage, deepfake tutorials, and some files that are like off, like they shouldn't exist. One night, I was scrolling through the site after work, sipping on cold McDonald's Sprite. Seriously, that stuff hits like a defibrillator. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I got a DM from a user named Esh4D0W Tracer. The message just said, "You into deep files? $100 for a hard drive with rare government shit. Personal project. You'll want to see this." I rolled my eyes at first. I get random DMs all the time. People trying to sell bootleg Netflix accounts or access to dummy TikTok bots. But something about the profile made me pause. He had over 6,000 karma on the forum, and his threads were old, like a decade old. One of them linked to a cache of unreleased Google Glass footage from a cancelled military AR program. The guy was legit. So I replied, mostly out of boredom, "What kind of stuff are we talking?" He responded immediately. It felt like he was just waiting. "Experiments. Real ones. Military. Extraterrestrial. You're in it. You want it or not." That last line made my blood drop cold. You're in it. What did that even mean? I sat staring at my screen for what felt like 10 straight minutes before asking, "What do you mean, I'm in it?" And then he sent a file. Just a single image. It was a blurry still from what looked like CCTV footage, timestamped 2005, July 19th, 3:14:22. The room was harshly lit, all sterile white, like a hospital or lab, and in the middle was a steel table. On it was a baby, probably just a few months old, small, swaddled in a blue towel. A metal rig surrounded the table, like a cage of surgical arms. And then I saw the baby's face. It was me. I'm not guessing. I'm not being dramatic. I know what I looked like as a baby. My mom has an entire photo album on Facebook of old baby pics, and this was one of those exact images, except I was in a lab, not my childhood home. I felt nauseous. I backed away from the screen like it was going to reach out and grab me. My heart was thumping through my ears. I messaged him again. "What the hell is this?" No reply. I waited hours. Nothing. The next morning, I got another message. "I'm being watched. Transferring files. You'll get the drive in 4 days. Don't talk to anyone. You've already been flagged. No address confirmation, no name, nothing. That same day, a package showed up at my apartment. No return address, just a brown envelope, sealed with black electrical tape. Inside, a scratched up 1 terabyte external hard drive, a folded sticky note that read, "Use Linux. Do not connect to internet." And that was it. Now, listen. At this point, I probably should have gone to the police. Or not plugged in the extremely cursed drive that a random hacker mailed me. But let's be honest. If you were told your baby self was part of a secret experiment, you'd look. You'd have to. So I booted up an old laptop I hadn't touched since college, wiped it, installed Linux, and plugged in the drive. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a drive. It was a rabbit hole. Inside were 5 folders, all with coded names. The first one I clicked was titled Project MIRAGE-1. Inside were hundreds of .mp4s, all time-stamped between 1986 and 2009. All of them labeled like this: XP A29, Room 14, Juvenile Sub 12.move, XP B 17, Neural Rewire, 15 seconds .mkv, XP C04, Insertion Test, Baby 2025.move. Yes, 2025. I'll get to that one. The videos were short, most between 10 and 30 seconds. But what was in them? Things I cannot explain. At least not yet. It only gets worse from here. I've started getting calls from unlisted numbers, and someone followed me on foot last night after work. I think whatever was in that drive, they know I've seen it, and they want it back. There are no words for the kind of fear that crawls into your body and stays. The kind that doesn't spike like adrenaline, but simmers, low, constant, and heavy, like something rotten behind your ribs. Ever since I opened that hard drive, I haven't slept more than 2 hours a night. Not because of what's on it, but because I feel like I'm being watched when I close my eyes. This isn't just government experiment levels of shady. This is something else. Something not made for the public eye. Not made for humans, honestly. After that first night, I went back into the drive and opened another folder. I hadn't even scratched the surface. The second one was titled BioStitch 003. Inside were PDFs, thousands of them. No formatting, just cold clinical logs with file names like Autopsy Transcript 0, 3A.tx, T Subject 003, Emergent Behavior, .pdf Mutation Patterns, dash Internal Tissue Growth, Abnormal.mov, Mother Host, Memory Removal Test, 001.doc. I clicked on a file randomly. It was an autopsy report. The text was fragmented, like it had been translated from another language or ran through broken OCR software, but some of it still made sense, and it shouldn't have. Here's a direct quote. Subject 003 expired 44 minutes post-implant detachment. Tissue separation at spinal entry point appears cauterized. DNA fusion remains intact. Notable anomalies in frontal cortex growth. Host exhibited self-awareness 2 hours prior to death. Communicated in constructed speech patterns. Age 9 months. 9 months. Old. I scrolled further, past the technical gibberish, and into what looked like observation notes. Crying stopped 1 hour into Procedure B. Subject made direct eye contact with camera. Mimicked researcher's hand gesture. Repeated word. Cold. Note. Linguistic imitation not expected until post-stage 5 development. Immediate termination recommended. There was a photo attached, not of the subject, of a hand, a surgeon's hand with deep parallel gouges in the palm. Not cuts, burns, like the skin had been erased in specific lines, almost like symbols, and underneath the image, in red text, if the hand starts to burn, abort the transfer. It's already learning. I backed away from my screen. I had to. My heart was hammering, and my mouth had gone completely dry. There's fear, and then there's this thing I felt, like I just read something that wasn't meant for human minds. Like I accidentally read someone else's nightmare. I went to get water from the kitchen and stopped cold when I saw my apartment window was open. I live on the 3rd floor. I didn't open that window. I swear on my life it was locked. I don't open it. Ever. I live downtown, not in the mood to deal with raccoons, sketchy neighbors, or drunk dudes yelling about hockey. But it was open, just barely. Enough to let air in, enough to let something else out. I shut it fast, locked it, and turned every light on in the apartment. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I took the drive to a co-worker of mine, Ryan. He's a few years older than me, ex-military, got discharged after some kind of training accident he never talks about. But he knows systems, surveillance, drones, classified architecture. I figured if anyone could help me decode what I was seeing, it'd be him. We met at a crowded Starbucks near Union Station. I made sure it was public, just in case this was the kind of thing you get disappeared for asking about. I passed him the drive under the table and explained what I'd seen without going too deep. Just the weird footage, the files, the fact that one of the videos had a baby that looked like me. He didn't laugh. He didn't question it. He just got quiet. I asked him if he recognized the term Project MIRAGE-1. He didn't answer. Instead, he told me something I'll never forget. In Afghanistan, we found a site. Not on maps. Nothing official. Looked like a mine shaft, but ran straight down for half a mile. Inside? No bodies. Just chambers. Like something was growing in there. And on the walls, etched into the steel, one word, Mirage. He pushed the drive back toward me. You need to burn this. Whatever it is, it's not from here. And they'll know you saw it. I didn't listen. That night, I opened folder 3. It was called ECHO-Child Research. That's when the real nightmare started. This folder contained audio, just .wav files, dozens of them, each one labeled with a date and subject code. One of them caught my attention immediately. SubijB13_YY94 vocal test.wav YY94. That's the year I was born. The recording started with a female voice, clearly reading from a script. Vocal test. Subject B13. Week 13. Introduce self. Then, a pause. Then, the voice of a child. But not a normal baby voice. It was clear. Too clear. Like someone pressing play on a voice that wasn't ready to speak yet. I am Echo. I am cold. I want my real mother. There's something so wrong about a child speaking like that. So controlled. So precise. It made my stomach clench like I was being stabbed. The woman responded, Real mother has been reassigned. You will address handler only. And then, the kid started screaming. I mean blood-curdling, guttural screaming, like its lungs were ripping apart. Not scared, angry, like it knew it was being lied to. The kind of scream that makes your ears ring even after it stops. And then, this sound I can't describe. A metal tearing mixed with some high-frequency whine. The last words in the clip were from the woman. He's changing again. Cut the feed. He's bleeding through the walls again. That phrase. bleeding through the walls. What does that even mean? Later that night, I started hearing sounds in my apartment. Not the normal creaks or pipes. Breathing from under the sink. When I built up the nerve to check, nothing was there. But there were wet footprints on the towel. Barefoot. Small. Like a child's. I know how this sounds, but I recorded it. I set up my phone and left it under the sink while I slept on the couch with the lights on. When I played it back the next morning, I heard whispers, garbled at first, then clearer. We are still in you. We are not finished. There's more. So much more. I haven't even gotten to the folder marked Home Videos, or the file that has my birth certificate inside it with a note that says, Data mismatch. Subject not erased properly. Recommend neutralization. There are people following me now. I've seen them. Same guys, different places. Airports, grocery stores. One stood outside my building in a white unmarked van for 4 hours. No plates. This isn't just a story. This is something real. And if this post disappears, or if my account goes silent, just know this. I wasn't supposed to survive whatever happened to me as a baby, but I did. And now, they're trying to finish what they started. I haven't seen my reflection in 3 days, not because I've avoided mirrors, because something's wrong with them now. Whenever I catch my face in a reflection, bathroom mirror, dark windows, the black screen of my laptop, I don't recognize what's staring back at me. The face looks like mine, but it's not blinking when I do. It holds eye contact just a little too long, and sometimes, God, I can't even believe I'm saying this. It smiles. I'm not smiling. It does. There's something else behind my face. Something that remembers being trapped inside a machine. Something that's still angry about it. And it all traces back to folder 4. I wasn't ready for this one. I should have stopped at folder 3. But you can't just walk away when you find out your entire identity might be a goddamn test result. Folder 4 was simply called Reclaimed Material. Unlike the others, this one didn't open into categories or structured logs. No file names, no timestamps, just a black screen. And then, like a VHS tape that suddenly clicks into motion, the footage began to play. It was a camcorder recording. Judging by the quality, probably early 2000s, the perspective was handheld, shaky. The angle was low, like it was being filmed by a child or someone crawling. The camera was aimed at a hospital hallway, but not a normal hospital. The floor tiles were stained, discolored, like they'd been washed in blood and bleached too many times. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Some had long since burst, leaving parts of the hall in shadows that moved too much to just be the camera operator. And then, the sounds. Muffled banging. Not like a door being knocked on. More like something inside a wall desperately trying to get out. Then the camera turned a corner, and I saw them. Children, maybe 6 or 7 years old, sitting in metal chairs lined against the hallway walls. They weren't crying. They weren't fidgeting. They weren't even blinking. Every one of them had wires coming out of the base of their necks. The cords trailed down to small boxes at their feet, each box glowing a soft, unnatural blue. And behind each child, written on the wall in what looked like ash or burned soot, were the words, "Do not speak unless instructed." The camera zoomed in on one girl. Freckles, pale skin, maybe 5 years old at most. Her eyes were jet black. I'm not exaggerating. No iris, no whites, just void. Then she turned her head directly toward the camera and said, calmly, clearly. They know you've seen us. They're coming to take your skin back. I paused the video there. I had to, because I realized something. The girl looked exactly like a kid I went to middle school with, Emma Wolf. We sat next to each other in 7th grade English. She used to hum when she did her homework. One day she stopped showing up. Everyone said she moved away. But I remembered that face, that same damn freckle pattern. I looked her up on Instagram that night. Nothing. Facebook. Nothing. No trace. It's like she never existed. And now, here's the part where I stopped breathing. I looked at a blurry reflection in my turned-off laptop screen, and the girl in the chair, she was still looking at me, even though the video was paused, even though I closed the file. I shut the laptop and threw it across the room, and then, from inside the walls, I heard humming, that same off-key hum Emma used to make. That night, I had a dream, or I thought it was a dream. I was back in a hospital room. I was in a crib. The walls were a clean, glossy white, but something was wrong with the corners. They bent too sharply, like the geometry of the room didn't belong to this world. There was a man standing above me, but his face, it wasn't a face. It was a mask, surgical, but stitched to the skin like it was permanent. His eyes were black, just like the kids in the video, and he had scars shaped like circles all over his arms, branding scars. He leaned down toward me and whispered something in a language I didn't understand. Harsh, mechanical, not meant for vocal cords. And then he inserted a key into the side of my neck, twisted, pulled, and my face came off, just peeled, smooth like paper. Underneath, wires, red glistening muscles, and underneath those, nothing, just light. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, and there, in my living room, right by the couch where I'd fallen asleep, were footprints, wet, bare, small, not mine. I went back to the hard drive. Final folder. Extraction Records. I almost didn't open it, but I had to. If you saw what I saw, you'd have to. This folder was organized by date. It started in the 1960s, ended in 2027. Wait, 2027. I clicked that year. Only one file. A PowerPoint presentation. Government format. U.S. Department of Defense insignia in the top corner. Title slide. Projected recovery timeline for synthetic biological hosts. Mirage integration, phase 4. Next slide. Subject names. B13. Active. B14. Deceased. B15. Infiltrated civilian population. Status. Pending erasure. B16. Merged. Error. Dual consciousness detected. B17. Missing. And then I saw it. Next to B13 was my name. Full name. Birthday. Baby photo. Under status, it said, alive. Reclamation in process. They know I exist, and they're coming to finish it. The final slide said, final host must be neutralized prior to emergence of Stage 5 phenomena. Stage 5 includes spontaneous memory regression, facial rejection, and interdimensional phase shift. Spontaneous facial rejection. That's what I've been seeing in the mirrors. My face isn't mine anymore. This isn't just about alien experiments. This isn't just secret government projects. This is something older, something not from here, something that's using us as test cases for merging our biology with something they don't even understand. And I was part of it, since the moment I was born, or maybe since before that. And now, they want their subject back, even if it means ripping me apart piece by piece until there's nothing left but memory fragments and light. There are things you can't scrub from your memory, things that don't get fuzzier with time, like most trauma does. Instead, they etch themselves into your neurons, carving jagged patterns into your psyche that don't heal. Things like hearing your own voice whisper from behind you when you're alone in a locked room, or watching a reflection blink twice when your own eyes don't move, or seeing someone who was declared dead on a government file standing right outside your bedroom window at 3:17 a.m., smiling at you. That's how this part starts. Not with a scream, with a smile. I hadn't left the apartment in 2 days. Not after the last video. Not after finding out I was subject B13. I kept the lights on constantly, every blind shut, every reflective surface covered with towels, t-shirts, duct tape, whatever I could find. I couldn't handle seeing my face anymore. Not when it stuttered like a broken GIF every time I turned my head. Not when the left eye sometimes lagged behind. It was quiet, too quiet, until 3:17 a.m. I woke up in a cold sweat, my whole body frozen, and I mean frozen, like my nerves had forgotten how to move. Not sleep paralysis. This was different. This felt like something external was pressing on me, containing me, and that's when I saw it. Movement outside my bedroom window. 3rd floor. No balcony. Just open air and a guy standing there, watching me through the glass. I couldn't scream. I couldn't even breathe. The figure had one hand flat against the window, like he was feeling for heat. The other, holding something, a photo, pressed against the glass. I couldn't move my body, but my eyes worked, so I stared at the image. It was a picture of me, as a baby, strapped to a surgical chair with a tube running out of my chest and into a machine labeled Synthetic Integration Stage 2. The man smiled wider, and then he spoke, but not with his mouth. The words hit inside my head like a loud thought that didn't belong to me. They told you I was dead. They lied. I came back through the drain pipes, soaked in fire, burnt clean. I blacked out. No dream, just cold. When I came to, my phone had 37 missed calls, all from a blocked number. My voicemail was full. I checked one. The voice wasn't mine, but it sounded like me. It said, "Subject B14 has located you. Containment failed. Do not open the door. Do not open the door. Do not open." Then static. Then a scream that didn't stop. It lasted until the message ran out of time. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just waited. Every second felt like my bones were vibrating, like my spine had an electrical cord wrapped around it, humming louder with every breath. At 6:02 p.m., the power went out. Total blackout. Not just my building, the whole block. My phone lost signal. Wi-Fi dead. Landline, just static. And then, a knock at the door. Not loud, not aggressive. Just 3 taps. Deliberate. Like Morse code. I looked through the peephole. Empty hallway. But I could hear someone breathing on the other side. Not just breathing, struggling to breathe. Like their lungs were filled with water, but they were forcing it out with every gasp. Wet, sloshing, ragged. Then, the door handle turned. I didn't lock it. I know I always lock it. I triple check. I have OCD level habits about that door because of this exact fear. But it turned, and it opened, and there he was, subject B14. Not a man, not a monster, something in between. His body was wrong, stretched too tall. Joints shifted like a puppet that didn't know how to be human anymore. The skin on his arms was tight, almost plastic-like. His eyes, there were 3. 2 in the normal place, and 1 in his throat. It blinked first, and then he spoke from the eye. The sound came out like insects crawling through a flute. Musical, but sick. You were the one who lived. The split copy. The failed delete. I was erased, but not clean. The blood remembered me. I tried to run, but my legs didn't listen. I collapsed on the floor. My vision went white, pure white, like static. And then, sudden clarity, like something entered me, not physically, not like a demon possession cliche. It felt like my memory was being accessed, like someone scrolling through files in my brain. And then I saw it. An image burned into my skull like a hot brand. A room full of infant tanks. Rows, hundreds, all filled with pale fluid and twitching forms. Some had no faces. Others had too many. Another flash. A steel table. My infant body. Tubes in the spine. My face peeled back to show nerve endings that shimmered like glass. Technicians whispering. We made two. One conscious. One controllable. Then, his voice again. But now, from inside me. You were the one with soul. I was built to obey. They gave me no face, so I stole one. That's when I understood. Subject B14 wasn't some escaped lab experiment. He was me. Or what was left after they split me into two. The controllable version. The one they kept. The one they used. And now he wanted his skin back. I came to in my bathtub, fully clothed, soaked in black water. No memory of how I got there. The lights were back on, phone charged, no sign of B14, except on my bathroom mirror, written in something thick and red, were the words, "The mirror is not a reflection, it's a doorway. Stop looking into yourself, you'll let the rest out." Next to it was a photo. Another baby picture. This time it wasn't me. It was a girl, newborn, wrapped in surgical linens. Her eyes were open, jet black. Caption scribbled on the back. B17. Status. AWOL. Believed to have phase shifted. Lost located in Eastern Europe. Under civilian identity. Estimated reemergence. 2025. Termination scheduled. This year. I googled her ID code, cross-referencing it with facial recognition software on some backdoor sites I shouldn't have access to. Took hours, but I found her. She's real. She has a TikTok. 100K followers. She posts baking videos. Lives in Romania. Her most recent post? A video of her cutting into a cake. Caption says, "A slice of me." But when the knife goes through the cake, it bleeds. And if you pause it at the right frame, you can see it. Her reflection in the kitchen window. And her reflection is smiling. She's not. B17 is out there. So am I. And now I know something terrifying. We weren't the only ones. There's a file I haven't opened yet. It's not on the drive. It appeared on my desktop yesterday, by itself. It's called miragehome.mp4. I haven't watched it yet. I will. But I don't think watching is the dangerous part. I think the danger is in being seen by it. There are no metaphors anymore. No half-hidden warnings or subtle shadows at the edge of vision. There's just this, the cold truth that we are not who we think we are, that some of us were never born, some of us were written, programmed like haunted songs inside of meat. And now that I've watched the final file, now that I know what I truly am, there's no way back, only inward. The file appeared on my desktop without warning. miragehome.mp4. No icon. No thumbnail, just static for a preview. A solid gray void. No metadata. I ran it through every forensic program I knew. No timestamps. No origin. It wasn't created. It was placed. I clicked it at exactly 2:11 a.m. The moment I pressed play, the lights in my apartment dimmed. Not flickered. Dimmed. As if the file was draining the electricity just by being viewed. My laptop screen didn't just play a video, it became the only source of light in the entire room. Every shadow in the corners melted into each other until I felt like I was sitting in the center of something huge, circular and breathing. The footage was dated June 1st, 2025, 2 days ago. The location, unlisted. The video began with a hallway, not filmed, seen, first person, POV, like I was walking through it. The walls were like muscle, wet, pinkish gray, pulsing like they were alive. Veins ran across the ceiling, some of them twitching like they were dreaming. Every few steps, a number was branded into the floor in a glowing red font. 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Then the hallway opened into a massive chamber, and in the middle was something I don't know how to describe without sounding completely insane. A human crib, massive, the size of a warehouse, surrounded by satellite dishes and surgical towers. Hundreds of wires ran into the crib from all angles, pulsing with red-blue current. A machine above it ticked like an enormous metronome, except every tick seemed to hurt. I don't know how to explain that. Every time it ticked, I felt something behind my eyes shift. Inside the crib was a baby. Me, the real me, but not a baby like before. It was grown, aged, but never allowed to develop, like they'd paused its biology and stretched its soul across 2 decades without letting the body move forward. Its mouth was open, constantly chewing, as if trying to remember how to speak. And its eyes, God, the eyes were mine, but they weren't seeing, they were transmitting. Every blink pulsed out a data burst, symbols, frames, binary riddles etched across the walls like light tattoos. I felt a nosebleed trickle as I watched. Then the camera turned and showed the rest of them. Rows, hundreds of beds, each with a person that looked almost human, but slightly wrong. Some had extra fingers, some had mouths that were sewed open. One woman was pregnant in reverse, her stomach caving inward, as though something was trying to crawl out through her spine instead. Each of them had tags around their necks, B19, C04, M07. One tag read, Mother, failed incubation vessel. Another, host father, voice, memory rejected. And then I saw something that made me scream without sound. A TV screen in the corner of the room, playing home movies, my childhood, but not how I remembered it. In one clip, my mom is holding me while my dad films, except she keeps repeating the same sentence over and over like a glitch. We love you, we love you, we love you, we... Then her eyes turn to the camera and bleed, not red, black, like ink. The video cuts and the screen goes black, but the sound keeps playing. Whispers, layered, not in sync. Thousands of versions of my voice, all whispering different things. Some of them say real memories, others, things that haven't happened yet. I heard one say, he's going to shoot you at 6:43. Don't turn around. Another, you never had a mother. You were grown in the basement of a dead church in Hungary. Another, you are phase shifting right now. Your bones aren't real. That ache you feel, that's your body remembering its original shape. And then, one lost voice. Calm, director, adult, me. Welcome home, B13. You're not watching this. You're remembering it. The screen flashed. A white room, empty, except for a mirror. I don't know how, but I could feel it. That was my mind, my original mind, and someone had been living in it this whole time, rewriting, editing, replacing memories with programmed dreams. There was something in the mirror already. It turned around slowly, and I recognized it. B14, but dead, skinned. its body stitched together with black thread, hollow eyes, no voice, just mouth movement. But I understood what it said. I failed. I tried to reclaim it, but it's not yours either. I looked around. Behind me, more mirrors. Hundreds, each with a version of me. Some younger, some older, some wrong. One version of me was on fire but smiling. Another had no face. Another was a girl, and she was the only one blinking in sync with me. That's when I understood. We aren't clones. We aren't experiments. We're backups. Redundant, repurposed, reality-bending placeholders waiting for the original to die or finish integration. The file ended, but my screen didn't go back to normal. It showed a countdown, 3:11:56, and above it, integration protocol, final phase, host, identity override, inbound. The lights came back on, and all the mirrors in my house shattered at once, but I hadn't touched them. That's when my reflection started showing up in things that weren't reflective. The wall, the floor, the inside of my eyelids. It doesn't blink anymore. It just watches. 3 hours later, I got a text. No number, no sender, just a link. It led to a live stream. Me, sitting in my apartment, except I wasn't holding the phone. I was staring at the camera, smiling. The same smile B14 made outside my window. Comments started flooding the stream. Bro is glitched. This gotta be ARG. He looking at me. Why does it feel like he's seeing me? Is this on Netflix or some? Yo, I saw that same guy at the Prague McDonald's. WTF. WTF, 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 WTF. They weren't watching a video. They were watching my override. Live. It's been 72 hours since then. I don't know who's writing this. It might still be me. Or it might be what they left behind inside my spine. But here's what I know now. The Mirage program never shut down. It just went quiet. It scattered the experiments around the world, letting them live, waiting for them to hit phase 5 and come home. I was never meant to find the hard drive, but now that I have, you found it too. You read this? You're part of the signal now. You're part of the test. You're next. If you begin hearing your own voice, whispering from a dark corner of your room tonight, don't answer. It's not you.